To reports from multiple news outlets, his former sister-in-law alleges that Hegseth's wife was terrified he would abuse her to the point where she and her sister had a code to text each other if her husband became violent, and she feared for her safety. Tonight is a special night at the White House. It's Donald and Melania's 20th wedding anniversary. 20 years is a long time, especially for Melania. This morning, Trump paid tribute to his longest-serving wife by reposting this AI image of himself with a...
Humiliate Melania and Trump with just one word live on air. If you love watching Hollywood's sharpest comedians dismantle Donald Trump with pinpoint accuracy, then Jimmy Kimmel's latest takedown was nothing short of a masterclass. The late-night host has turned Trump roasting into an art form, and last night he delivered one of his most savage performances yet. Let's set the stage. It's a big night at the White House. Donald and Melania's 20th wedding anniversary. 2 decades together is no small feat, especially considering that Melania has managed to stick around longer than most of Trump's business ventures. Ever the romantic, Trump marked the occasion in the most Trumpian way possible, by reposting an AI-generated image of himself looking regal next to a lion. Because naturally, nothing says eternal love like a Photoshop fantasy starring a jungle cat. Then came the real entertainment. Jimmy Kimmel, a man who has spent years perfecting the craft of skewering Trump, took center stage.
I'm gonna make stuff up about him. I'd start telling people he wears diapers. I would explain that it's a long trial. He drinks a lot of Diet Cokes to stay awake. He's getting up there in years, and it's perfectly normal for a man of Trump's age and carriage to wear absorbent undergarments to stop the leaks. So, I mean, if I was making stuff up, that I would point out that the reason he stands like this and golfs like this and plays tennis like this is because he has a full diaper strapped around his little mushroom garden, okay?
If Trump is the ultimate reality TV character, then Kimmel is the showrunner making sure we all enjoy the absurdity in high definition. And last night, he was in rare form. Kimmel wasted no time, delivering punchlines with the ease of a seasoned pro. If I wanted to make things up about Trump, I'd start telling people he wears diapers, he quipped. I mean, it's a long trial. He drinks a lot of Diet Cokes to stay awake.
Every mistake now he'll claim was AI. Eric, Don Jr. He said artificial intelligence was used by them against me in their videos of me. Can't do that, Joe. Which the idea that Joe Biden did that, I mean, Joe Biden can't unlock his phone without accidentally taking 3 pictures. I mean, let's be honest. Joe Biden, don't worry about Joe Biden using AI. You worry about us using AI because we will not use it subtly. We will use it to make you look like a chubby German boy eating pudding by himself. Or a human chicken McNugget, or the god of diarrhea.
He's getting up there in age, and it's perfectly normal for a man of Trump's, carriage to wear absorbent undergarments to stop the leaks. The crowd erupted in laughter as Kimmel leaned in further, suggesting that Trump's famously awkward stance on the golf course might not be due to bad posture, but rather a tightly strapped diaper restricting his movement. It's like he's got a little mushroom garden he's trying to protect, Kimmel joked, sending the audience into hysterics. Of course, Kimmel wasn't just focused on Trump's physical quirks. He took aim at his business failures, too. How do you go bankrupt running a casino? Kimmel asked, feigning confusion. That's like losing money on a lemonade stand when you own the lemon tree. He then piled on, mimicking Trump's infamous speech patterns. People come in, they hand you cash. The best cash. Bigly cash. And somehow you still can't keep the lights on. But Kimmel's real skill lies in exposing the absurdity of Trump's entire persona. He painted a picture of a man completely out of his depth, someone who walks into a revolving door and still gets stuck. He's the kind of guy who probably still reads the instructions on a shampoo bottle, Kimmel said, pausing for dramatic effect. Every single time. Trump, of course, has never been able to resist firing back at Kimmel, frequently calling him a terrible host and a third-rate comedian. But if Trump is keeping score, he's losing this battle. Badly. Kimmel doesn't just land punches, he the record straight. That never happened, not once. Ever. I don't stand out there for anyone. Have you guys seen me out there? No. Our guests don't even enter from the sidewalk. They come in through the alley in the back. The only time I've ever stepped onto that sidewalk for Donald Trump was to, well, decorate his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And just like that, Kimmel delivered yet another roasting session for the ages, proving once again that when it comes to taking on Trump, nobody does it quite like him. And let's be real, this cycle is exhausting. Trump does something ridiculous. The world reacts. His supporters pretend it never happened. Then, like clockwork, he's back in hot water a month later. It's the political equivalent of a reality show that refuses to get canceled, no matter how many seasons it overstays its welcome. But here's the silver lining. More people are finally catching on. The lawsuits are piling up, the excuses are wearing thin, and sooner or later, even Trump won't be able to spin his way out of the mess he created. When that moment comes, we already know his playbook. Point the finger at everyone else. The deep state, the media, maybe even an unlucky gust of wind. But the truth is staring him right in the face. Trump built his empire on bluster, and now it's all crumbling around him. And honestly, it's long overdue. There you have it. Jimmy Kimmel roasting Trump to a crisp, delivering yet another masterclass in late-night comedy. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe. More videos are on screen now.
I think that greed is so incredibly ugly and pervasive that these guys want it. They want more and more. I think they could care less about what's happening to the elderly, the children, the working class of this country. And I believe that they will do anything that they can to enrich themselves, and Trump is good.
Donald Trump just stepped into a rhetorical firestorm, and Bernie Sanders was the one lighting the match. This wasn't just a sharp rebuke. It was a full-scale dismantling, leaving no wiggle room for spin or denial. Trump.
It's not just that Trump is a pathological liar, and he is. It's not just that he's a sexist and wants to deny women the right to vote, that he's a xenophobe, saying horrible things about immigrants. It's worse than that. He does not really believe in democracy, and everything he is doing is trying to undermine the faith of the American people in our democracy.
Trump, as usual, tried his go-to routine of dodging and blustering. But Bernie tore through his defenses like a wrecking ball. If you thought you'd seen political takedowns before, buckle up. This one.
Trump claimed that the 2020 election was stolen from him and that he won by a landslide. Remember that? A lie. Trump claimed that the January 6th insurrection was a day of love. A lie. Trump has claimed that millions of undocumented people voted and do vote in American elections. A lie. Trump has claimed that climate change is a hoax originating in China. A lie.
Was brutal. Let's be real. Trump doesn't just lie, which he does constantly. He doesn't just stir up fear, anger, and division. The bigger issue? He doesn't actually believe in democracy. Every false claim, every grievance-filled tirade, every attempt to undermine trust in elections is about one thing: convincing Americans that their voices...
It's not just Medicaid that Trump's budget would cut. It would also cut nutrition assistance by at least $230 billion. Now, I want you to think about that for a moment. And can you imagine the billionaire class, people who can support their families? Some of these guys have tens of billions of dollars. Support their families for the next 10 generations, 50 generations. People who live in incredible opulence. People who own their own jet planes, they own their own private islands, they own their own spaceships. Trying to get tax breaks by taking food out of the mouths of low-income kids. That truly is disgusting.
Don't count. And Bernie? He wasn't having it. Trying to reason with Trump is like arguing with a sore loser who flipped the chessboard and now insists he won. He's still clinging to the absurd fantasy that the 2020 election was stolen. A lie. He calls the January 6th insurrection a beautiful day. Another lie. He claims millions of undocumented immigrants are casting votes in U.S. elections. A lie. And his greatest hit? That climate change is some grand hoax cooked up by China. Trump's real talent isn't leadership, business, or governance. It's delivering nonsense with a straight face. Watching him talk is like witnessing a guy juggling explosives, completely oblivious to the fact that they're about to blow. But Bernie? Oh, Bernie had enough. The man who spent his career fighting for working people finally unleashed. And honestly, who could blame him? Trump's proposed budget doesn't just trim Medicaid, it guts it. He wants to slash over $230 billion from food assistance programs. The worst-case scenario? The American democratic experiment, 250 years in the making, could begin to unravel before our eyes. And Bernie, he's making damn sure people wake up before it's too late. If reality had a health meter, every Trump speech would take a massive hit. The man can turn fiction into fact, rewrite history in real time, and somehow always paint himself as the victim. If the sky is blue, he'll insist it's green, call you a liar for saying otherwise, and demand applause for his genius observation. And Bernie's been watching the circus act long enough. But this time, he wasn't pulling any punches. Donald Trump's unrivaled ability to spew incoherent nonsense has once again backfired. This time, igniting Bernie Sanders like never before. Because in Trump's world, he's always the genius, the warrior, the self-proclaimed savior of America. He can't just fade into the background like a normal former president. No, he needs the spotlight, constantly declaring himself the greatest to ever do it. And honestly, it would almost be impressive if it weren't so absurd. But Bernie? Oh, Bernie was locked in. This was less of a debate and more of a masterclass in dismantling delusions. Trump took the stage with his usual cocktail of self-praise, historical rewrites, and over-the-top bravado. But this time, Bernie was there to fact-check every word in real time. Let's just appreciate the contrast for a moment. On one side, Bernie Sanders, a man who has spent decades fighting for working-class Americans, calling out corporate greed before Trump even figured out how to slap his name on cheap steaks and failing casinos. On the other side, Donald Trump, a man whose entire persona hinges on convincing people he's a business genius while dodging bankruptcy like it's a competitive sport. A guy who cares more about gold-plated toilets than actual policies. And tonight, Bernie wasn't playing around. You could see it in the way he adjusted his glasses. Like a man about to deliver the ultimate reality check, Trump waltzed in, demanding Congress pass his big, beautiful budget. But did he mention what's actually inside that budget? Of course not. Because here's the cold, hard truth. It guts Medicaid by $880 billion. That's right. $880 billion yanked away from a program millions rely on to survive. We're talking about 36 million Americans, many of them children, losing their health care. Trump stood on stage for 90 minutes and never once, not once, acknowledged that brutal fact. When, instead, he regurgitated the same tired nonsense. Wild exaggerations, meaningless slogans, and childish nicknames that sound like they were brainstormed in a playground. But Bernie wasn't here for the circus. Tonight, he laid it out with zero sugarcoating. This isn't just about reckless policies. Trump is a direct threat to democracy itself. And Bernie Sanders? He's making damn sure America doesn't sleepwalk into another disaster. Trump's ego is so overinflated it could float in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade. His promises? About as stable as a house of cards in a hurricane. It's going to be great, folks. The best. Nobody's ever done it before. Which, in Trump speak, roughly translates to, I have no clue what I'm saying, but if I yell it with enough confidence, maybe you won't notice. And yet somehow he keeps getting away with it. How? Distraction. It's his deadliest weapon. And let's be honest, he wields it with the precision of a seasoned con artist. While Bernie is out there laying down cold, hard facts, arms waving, voice booming, Trump keeps running his never-ending reality show. And as long as people stay glued to the spectacle, the working class remains on the sidelines, still waiting for their turn that never comes. So where does that leave us? Bernie will keep fighting. Trump will keep lying. And the rest of us? We'll keep watching this absurd political soap opera unfold. But for one glorious moment, we got to see Bernie rip through Trump's nonsense in real time. For that, we're grateful. Bernie's frustration proves that even the most steadfast leaders have a breaking point. And the fact that Trump can push someone like Bernie to the edge, that speaks volumes about the state of things right now.